The world's greatest single cut, the first ever signature model guitar, the double humbucker loaded face of rock and roll. From Eric Clapton to Robert Fripp, Slash, Bob Marley, Joe Bonamassa, Ace Frehley, Zakk Wylde, Billy Gibbons, Jimmy Page, Joe Perry, Gary Moore, Pete Townsend, Lindsey Buckingham, Vivian Campbell, Peter Green, Mark Knopfler, Paul Kossoff, and of course, Les Paul. The list is practically endless. The Les Paul has given more to the birth, progression, success, and sustainability of nearly every genre of music since its creation in 1952. This week's Guitar Nerds video is sponsored by Newtone Strings, a British-built, handmade guitar and bass string custom shop priding themselves on attention to detail and a range so extensive you'll find new sets, types, and gauges you never knew you needed. Newtone Strings put an optimum amount of time and effort into each string to help benefit you, catering for a wide selection of instruments and specific styles of playing. There is literally something for everyone. Check them out at newtonestrings.com or follow links in the description of this video to find out more. And with that in mind, this is the Guitar Nerds history of the Les Paul in 5 minutes flat. With the rise of the solid body guitar and Leo Fender's unchallenged success with the Telecaster, Orville Gibson's old mandolin company, then run by Ted McCarthy, needed to come up with something to tip the scales. So in 1952, Gibson produced the first ever Les Paul. Designs for a similar instrument had in fact been presented to them back in 1945 by Les Paul himself, but a pre-Telecaster challenged Gibson were unwilling to take the plunge. Now, hot on the heels of Leo's workhorse solid body, Ted saw the advantage in having a modern-day legend like Les Paul involved in the conceptual and promotional arm of their first solid body. Although stories differ between Gibson and Les Paul on exactly how much control Les actually had in the design stage of the instrument, one thing is for sure: Gibson got quite a few bits wrong in their initial instrument. The original trapeze tailpiece was an absolute nightmare and made it impossible to palm mute, which of course was a real problem for all the Californian style punk pop and post-hardcore that was prevalent during the 50s. According to Les Paul, he had told Gibson that the tailpiece was incorrect during the early stages. But after only a year of the guitar's production and with plenty of mixed feedback from players, Gibson finally listened to Les, switched round the tailpiece and adjusted the neck angle at the body joint. The guitar still had problems with intonation, and less than a year later, Gibson changed the spec of the instrument for the third time, introducing the Tune-o-matic bridge, which is now so commonplace on Gibsons. Funnily enough, the Les Paul body size was not originally designed to be such a comfy fit. First prototypes featured a body with the depth and size of a jazz box guitar, but imagine making a solid body version of that. Pretty soon after the initial designs came in, they realized the weight would be astronomical. The original Les Paul would become known as the Gold Top, fitted with a pair of P90s long before the invention of the humbucking standard that we have today. The finish itself was a bronze powder coat, and with the addition of the exposed wood back and sides and the jazz box-esque carved top, the Les Paul was designed to outdo the Telecaster in looks, if not playability. 1954 hit, and with Fender's expansion to include the Stratocaster, Gibson too added 2 new models to their Les Paul range, the Les Paul Jr. and the Les Paul Custom. The Les Paul Jr. was Gibson's attempt at a student-level instrument. Slab body, no carve, single P90 pickup in the bridge, and the original bridge from the Gold Top series. Of course, the Junior would later transcend to a level of popularity far outdoing Gibson's original plans for the instrument, but that is a whole other video. The second model, the Les Paul Custom, was introduced on request of Les Paul himself, who wanted something that, quote, looked like a tuxedo. So the Custom was black with white binding, Gibson's premium diamond headstock inlay, and mother of pearl block fret inlays. An ebony board, wider, flatter frets that coined Les calling the instrument the fretless wonder. The pickups were also given an upgrade, with the neck being switched out for a Seth Lover designed Alnico 5 single coil with a much higher output. But it wasn't until 1957 that the Les Paul really started becoming the guitar that it is today, all thanks to the innovations of Seth Lover. Lover had worked out how to wire 2 coils electrically out of phase with reverse magnetic polarities, bringing about the humbucker. With the patent applied for but not completed until 1959, Gibson fitted all of Lover's humbucker design pickups with the patent applied for sticker, which gave the pickups their now commonplace name, PAF. 1958 was another big year for the Les Paul. Its popularity still middling, Gibson sought to invigorate the line by phasing out the then unpopular gold top and introducing Sunburst. Although not officially named this at the time, those double humbucker loaded Sunburst Les Pauls made from 58 onwards are what have become commonly referred to as the Les Paul standard, and they most resemble the conventional idea of what a Les Paul should be today. Further refinements came between 1958 and 1960. Most notably, the neck profile was reduced to appease those whiny Strat players, but the guitar was still proving unpopular. So in 1960, Gibson dropped the Les Paul. The guitar had failed, and that could well be the end of this story. But in the late 60s, with rock and roll taking a more aggressive twist, contemporary players like Clapton, Beck, and Page needed something with a bit more oomph. The Les Paul saw a resurgence in popularity on the second-hand market, and so, due to the pressures of popular demand, in July of 1968, Gibson reintroduced the Les Paul to their catalogue, and there it has stuck ever since. In many incarnations, from the Les Paul recording with far too many knobs to the Les Paul Axis with not nearly enough wood. So there you have it, the Guitar Nerd's history of the Les Paul in 5 minutes flat. Okay, fine, I didn't make it through the 70s and the 80s and all the new stuff. But seriously, the 70s and the 80s just saw a dip in quality, and then from the 2000 onwards, they were making like 50 new Les Pauls every year. I mean, thank God for JC Curley. Seriously, just buy a standard. But what do you think? What's the best Les Paul? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to check out our sponsors for this video, their links are in the description. And if you've liked this video, then give us a like and subscribe to Guitar Nerds for more weekly geeky guitar videos. Farewell.